What does Jalen Hurts have to do, in your opinion, to not have Howie Roseman use one of those first rounders next year and package up a deal to go into the top 10 and get himself a quarterback? What does he
Well,
have to
he's
do?
got to look like a franchise quarterback. That means, with these weapons he's got.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you, a lot of guys out there, man, taking victory laps. Taking victory laps out there for the Eagles. Let's bring in our friend Garry Cobb from Fox 29. Gary, a lot of guys taking victory laps in Philly, man. They got the season all right, ready to go, all primed, 1,000-yard wide receivers. It's funny. I asked somebody, A.J. Brown coming to Philadelphia, and the fantasy guys are even saying that he's going to take a step backwards here.
Ooh.
There are going to be 4 quarterbacks selected. Let me read them to you, Gary. There are going to be 4 quarterbacks selected in the top 10 next year. And this is from our friends at Bledsoe, the scouting service that all teams use.
Yeah.
Will Levis from Kentucky, C.J. Stroud, Ohio State, Bryce Young, Bama, Tyler Van Dyke, Miami. What does Jalen Hurts have to do, in your opinion, to not have Howie Roseman use one of those first rounders next year and package up a deal to go into the top 10 and get himself a quarterback? What does he have?
He's got to look like a franchise quarterback. That means, with these weapons he's got to be putting the ball on the money. You got to see some 350-yard games where it's not junk yards. No, it's competitive stuff, where he's doing it against a good defense, and they need these yards in order to win the football game. And he's competing against, the better quarterbacks in the league, where he is playing, at the level of a franchise quarterback. So, you look at the quality quarterbacks in the league, with Brady and of course, Rodgers, and, you look at the guys, throughout the league, the ones that are the marquee quarterbacks, he's got to be near them, and he's got to show that, if he's not all the way there, he's just, let's say, a hair underneath there, but he shows he is going to be a franchise quarterback.
Gary, does he have to be better than Dak?
I think he needs to be, the way Dak played last year, I think he's got to be better than that, but I think he's got to put those kind of numbers where you're talking about, 4,000 yards passing. I think he's got to be up there, because I know Sirianni likes to throw the ball. So if he sees something, he's going to go after it through the air. Even though, they got an outstanding running attack, he wants to throw the ball, because I think he believes, just like Jeffrey Lurie believes, that you win with the passing game now in the NFL. Now, you could do it in different ways where, you can take over the ball, and, teams, especially, they got to honor the Eagles' running game. So there are going to be opportunities there. You got the weapons. So he has got to put up a franchise quarterback type year where he's throwing 30 touchdowns, 10 or less interceptions, because he's got that running game. He's got an outstanding offensive line, and he's got all the weapons a quarterback could want.
Gary, I want to throw this at you too. We had Keith Byers on Friday. And it's funny how the organization has taken a transformation from the Norman Brayman days to the Jeffrey Lurie days, in the fact that I asked Keith, I said, do you think they gave Randall everything that he needed to be successful? And he said this, man, we had a deal all signed up and ready to go with Jim Lachey when Jim Lachey was getting ready to be traded. And at the end of the day, the owner didn't want to spend the money, and that's why Reggie ended up leaving. And I find it funny that today, the benchmark of the Philadelphia Eagle teams has been the offensive line. It's been a true shift from going out and finding skilled guys to really making sure that they're really an emphasis on the meat and potato guys in both lines. You think that's by design?
Yeah, I definitely think it's by design. I think that this is their formula for winning. And, they won, a few years back, they won with that formula where they were strong up front. They had even gone out and got some guys, like Chris Long near the end of his career. They had quality on the offensive and defensive lines. And they said, well, if we're winning up front, our people in back are going to be able to win. They don't have to be the best, but they're going to be able to play that much better if we're winning the battle up front on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And that proved to be true. And I think it's true because if you got a quarterback and he's got time, if he doesn't have time, he got to be great. And, you got certain guys that have been able to do, play at elite levels behind, garbage offensive lines, like Russell Wilson. He did that for years. And that's one of the reasons he wanted out of Seattle, because he was tired of it, Plus, they didn't really feature him as much as he wanted to. But, Jalen is going to have to do this year. He's got to shine, man. I mean, I hear he's working out. He's trying to do and prepare himself to be a guy that comes out there and shines. But he knows he's got to shine, man, because they got those quarterbacks sitting there in the next draft. And the Eagles are going to be salivating at them. Even if he has a good year, they're going to be tempted to draft one of them anyway.
I know. And that leads me to my topic to you. I started the show up by saying this. I go, would it bother you if you were a quarterback? Would it bother you if you were a player that the organization has made it almost an emphasis, Garry, to only make sure that they did not extend any of their comments past the 2022 year? Hey, Jalen, even at the combines, Jalen's our quarterback. 2022 is going to be a year for him to shine. No one's mentioned anything beyond it. I know maybe they got a little lesson taught to them by the Wentz deal. I understand all that. But would it bother you if you were Jalen or a player that the organization hasn't fully committed to you?
Well, yeah, it's going to be something that bothers you, something that's a challenge to you. But I think he would have to admit he has not sewn down the deal. He didn't sew it down where he didn't go out and just.
So his performance last year did not solidify his stay as the quarterback of the Eagles, in your opinion?
Clearly it didn't, because, see, where the Eagles are at now, they measure everything by a Super Bowl. When they won that Super Bowl, everything's going to be measured by the Super Bowl. Now, the way that they played and he played against Tampa Bay, does that look like a guy who can win a Super Bowl for you? The way he played against Tampa Bay in that playoff game?
No.
So I don't think he would have any argument with that. I think he knows he's got to get better. He has to play better. And I hope he does. He's got the weapons to do it, man.
Absolutely. Jarvis Landry, I threw this out too also. How important would it be to add another veteran wide receiver? Can you imagine this? Look at this, Garry.
Yeah.
You got both your wideouts. You have Jarvis Landry, you have A.J. Brown, or you have Devontae and A.J. Brown, and you put Jarvis Landry in the slot, and you've got a tight end in Dallas Goedert. Would you be open? Do you think they're thinking about adding another guy into the mix? Because, again, you're like you said, they're building this team for somebody.
Yeah.
It's either Jalen Hurts or it's someone else. Why not put as much talent as you possibly can? And you could give Jarvis, because he probably only wants a one-year contract, one of those Howie Roseman prove-it-to-me deals.
That's right.
You bring his ass in here.
Yeah.
And if Jalen's not the guy, you're going to know immediately. Even isn't the 2022 season not just about winning the East, but it's about finding out as quick as we can if Jalen's the guy?
Oh, clearly. I mean, it's probably more priority to find out about Jalen than to win the NFC East, because, that's going to have more to do with how good is Dallas. Let's say the Eagles, if they could win, 10, 11 games, and that's great and everything, but they want to find out about this quarterback situation, because, it's something about the way they built this team. And remember, when they won a few years back when they won, they didn't have one quarterback. They had two quarterbacks, and the reason they won, some people still say stuff and everything, even, people that are fans of Jalen, they go, oh, we don't need to bring in another guy. Look, when they won the Super Bowl, they didn't have two quarterbacks. They would not have won the Super Bowl.
Agreed.
They had two. They had two quarterbacks. So, especially if you could get a young guy who's not making the big bucks, then you can afford it. You can afford to get a young quarterback. See, that's the thing, and that's why that's one of the reasons that allows them to do that type of thing. But we'll see what happens. But I think clearly we are going to know whether he's the guy or not, because he is going to be featured, and they got all the weapons. Great offensive line, a true number one, and A.J. Brown, and you got Devontae Smith coming into his own, and you got good tight end and Dallas Goedert and everything. Got a good running game and everything. Now I'll be interested also to see Bradbury's out there now, James Bradbury, whether the Eagles do something. Now I don't know. Depends on how they're thinking, and see it also gets it. Do they think they can win this thing now? Do they? And a lot of that comes down to the quarterback. Because they have the other pieces in place. With this defense, they could use, if they had, let's say they would get Bradbury. Let's say they had the guy at quarterback they knew was the guy. I think they would go at it. I think they would go try to get Bradbury, and they would try to, do something, maybe bring in a veteran wide receiver, everything to go after it.
Gary, I think you just nailed it here. I wonder, after Wentz got injured, did they really believe that Foles, a backup journeyman quarterback, could take that team to a Super Bowl? And then once they did, do you think that has now been entrenched in their mind that, hey, you really don't have to have Tom Brady to win this game. You just have to have a guy to get us to the game. And do you really think that they're in this place right now? Because when you have a track record of doing something, you believe your formula works. And you know how organizations are. They're not going to move off it. Do you believe that they think they can actually – because, again, Angelo asked him on WIP if he thought he had a Super Bowl contending team. I didn't believe Foles as a backup could do it. But now they've got kind of the same dynamic with the O-line and D-line. Do you think they believe that at the NovaCare Center?
I don't know that they believe. I think they feel like they got a lot of the pieces in place to win it. Now, I think that they feel like they're not sure about Jalen, And we
so you think they're less sure about Jalen than they were about Foles?
Oh, well, I without a doubt, because see, back then, Foles wasn't a journeyman. He hadn't really been around a lot. He had just been a guy who had gotten hurt. But he had been pretty much successful everywhere he'd been,
including Philly.
What's that?
Including Philly when he went 26-3 with the quarter touchdowns to interceptions.
That's right. So he hadn't been a journeyman. So they were very confident in Nick that if he got on a roll, that he could get it. And he got hot, man. He got hot, and he shocked the world. So they were not shocked. They believed it in Nick Foles then, because he was a much younger guy then. And he had shown glimpses, and he's a streaky quarterback. He's the kind of quarterback, he gets hot as can be, and that's
like Eli.
And you know what? He's probably a better backup than he is a starter. He could come in, and he's got the confidence, come in and gets on a roll, and that's what happened then. As for where they really think they are right now, I think they think they're getting close. See, that's why they're so eager about the quarterback. Because they feel like they've made some moves to get them close to where they feel like they're in the running. So it's going to be interesting to what they do, boy, at that quarterback position. But, he's got his shot, man. He's just got to go out there and let it go, man. He's got to have the year that I think he feels like he's capable of. And you can see the way he's talking. He is he's working, and he knows these areas he's got to improve in. So it's going to be interesting to see if he gets it done or not.
Gary, couple questions on the other side of the ball with defense. Jonathan Gannon, do you think with these new additions, we'll see more blitzes, we'll see more pressure, or do you think they're going to stay in the same umbrella defense until they figure out that second cornerback position and maybe another linebacker? How do you see this thing evolving here? Because they've added quite a few components to that side of the football.
Well, they like to run that five-man, lineup where they have five guys, at least there's opportunity. They got five lining up there to come after the quarterback. I think they're going to be more aggressive. I clearly think they are. I think that's more of him, but, they're going to have to, find something to do on that other side away from Slay. They got to find an answer there, but I still think they're going to be aggressive. And I think that's more of his nature. It seemed like he got in a groove as the season went along. So I expect him to be aggressive, but they're going to have to work with it. Now, the young kid, Davis, man, they got to teach him how to rush the passer. That's not something he knew. But he's going to be a force against the run, but the kid has got the potential, and it's going to be exciting to see him develop. I'm really eager to see him.
Hey, I got to tell you, Tracy Rocker texted me after he watched our interview, and he's watching it now. He goes, so what, you and Cobb don't think the kid could pass rush? I said, that's not what we're saying. Yeah. I said in 43 games at Georgia, he had 9 sacks. That's not overly productive for the 13th pick in the draft. I mean, you can't take the first round pick off the field on the money down because, Gary, as you know, a little different than when you and I played because the feature backs aren't in the game any longer.
That's right.
The money down in the NFL used to be first down. Now it's third down. And if you're taking your big-time players off the field on third down, you're not really a franchise-type guy because that's the money down in today's NFL. That's all I think we're saying.
Without a doubt. That's all we're saying is, he has got to get to the point to where he can utilize his skills. Now, like I said, he's got the long arms. He's got the athleticism to do it. He's just got to be a factor on third downs. And there is nothing more important or nothing more effective against a passing game than pressure up the gut. So that's what he can do, and that's what we'll be looking at. And I know they got to work with him because I was out there checking him out. I see where got to get in shape. Got to get in shape, big fella. He's got to make sure he realizes that on this level, but clearly he has the talent. You can see he's got the quickness, he's got it all, but he's got to get that stamina and he's got to, learn the moves. But I think he can do it.
I don't think he's going to start. I think they're going to put him. I think they're going to put him in that 3-man rotation. And Gary, like I told you last week, you got one guy making 12.7 in Hardgrave. You got another guy making 14.4.
Yeah.
You ain't sitting $30 million.
That's right.
On the bench there for a kid who's learning how to do third down pass rushing. You're going to use him more on first and second down. And again, I think that kind of goes back to what you and I were saying. What kind of impact do you have? Hey, run stopping is important in this league. I get that. But to me, I think the guy we're really going to have to circle is Nakobe Dean. What impact do you see him having, and what role do you see him having on this team? Let's see if we can catch up with Gary again here, and hopefully we can catch up here. Let's see if we can bring him back in here. Because, again, nobody's saying that, again, that Jordan Davis is not going to be an impact football player and that he's not going to be able to get himself in. In the national championship game, he was spectacular. I thought he was great, okay? In the SEC title game, he's exactly what Gary said. He was out of shape. And so that kind of was my issue there too. And I think that's all anyone's saying here. How are you going to utilize that big fella? And again, Fletcher Cox is on a 1-year contract. I completely get that. I completely understand all that. But the bottom line is, how is his impact going to be on this football team when you're taking him out on the money down? Again, all I'm saying that Dean is probably going to have a bigger impact on the football team because there's a kid that could play on first, second, and third down. William says the 34 Dean. William, you don't have the linebackers to play a 4-linebacker, 34 traditional defense. You don't have the linebacker for that. You just don't. So let's bring Gary back here and ask him on the impact. Just a couple last questions for you, Gary. The impact you think Dean has on this defense will be what this year?
I think he's going to be in there. He's going to be playing a great deal because his skill set, I think, works with what they ask you to do now as a linebacker in the NFL, where he's going to be doing a lot of covering. He's going to be able to work behind that big line. They're going to keep him free, so he'll be able to go around and make tackles. And one thing I can see is the kid is smart. See, so he's going to be able to decipher what's going on with the game. And he's talking about studying formations and everything, which is part of the NFL. You got to know formation. What do people like to do out of different formations? Teams have different personalities. So I think he's going to be on the field a lot because he fits into what is needed at the linebacker position. Plus, he's not that big, but he's gonna have these big guys in front of him. They're gonna keep people off of him, and they're gonna be worried about the guys you're talking about with Fletcher and all these guys up in front. So he's gonna get a chance to do his thing. And like I said, the kid is smart. He's already talked about studying, and that shows that he was kind of playing on a pro mentality on the college level. So I think he's going to be able to go in and he's going to play a lot early on.
Last question for you. Miles Sanders, give me your scouting report on him. Do you think he's good enough to be in this role in this offense on what they're going to ask him to do? Or do you think they need a different type of bird in there? I was thinking somebody like when LeGarrette was in the building, he was a great red zone guy, LeGarrette Blount. But then when you had Leonard Fournette on the open market, I'm like, here's a guy that caught 77 passes, could run 1,200 yards. That's the kind of guy the Eagles, in my opinion, need. They got to get that screen game going. And I see Sanders not really, involved in any of the screen game. What's your assessment on him?
Well, he's got to get to the point where, look, he's got to catch the ball. If you're going to play in this offense, they're going to throw you the ball. So you got to catch the ball. And he's gotten to the point where he just – at times will put the ball on the ground and he's dropping passes and things and his timing with the screens and things. So that's where he's got to make the type of growth. And I don't see them re-signing him for a long deal. I don't see that, because he hasn't proven he can do this. And they've had success with guys like Boston Scott and the different backups they have. So I don't think the Eagles are going to put a lot of money into a running back. And I think Miles will probably be out of here after this season is over, and they'll be dealing with backups. They'll be dealing with guys that are alternating because they feel like, look, all these guys have had success behind this line. So why do they need to pay a fortune to a running back? So
they're not going to. They're going to do what they do in Denver. They're going to go by committee and just bring guys rolling in there. Gary, I appreciate it. It's getting closer and closer. I mean, I can't wait to see what happens and how this whole thing shakes out. Gary, thank you, my friend.
All right, have a good one.
You got it. Garry Cobb from Fox 29. Garry Cobb said something very interesting. And I'm going to throw this off of you. You're telling me the front office had more faith in Nick Foles than Jalen Hurts. They believed that Foles could win a Super Bowl. Do they believe that Jalen can? I want to hit on that because I never thought about it. All right, Morgan & Morgan. Proud sponsor of the National Football Show. And also, this is where the fee is free. Folks, I've been telling you this now. Choosing an attorney when it comes to personal injuries is one of the most important things you could possibly do. You know how many insurance firms out there try to take advantage of people who get injured on the job or hurt on the job? They do it every day. Morgan & Morgan will not tolerate that. They're the biggest law firm in the world, okay? They are going to go to battle for you when it comes to personal injury and personal liability. They're going to take care of what they do for you because this is who they are, for the people. It's not a slogan. This is what they've become because this is a creed that they believe in. The last 30 years, they've collected over $13 billion in compensation for their clients, which means this: they battle and battle and battle for you. With over 800 attorneys across the country, the army of attorneys that they have in the offices in Philadelphia, New York, Florida, all across this great country, they're going to go and do what's right for you and your family by getting that fair compensation. That's what they are, and it's who they are. Look, the call is free, 800-512-1600. The consultation is free, 800-512-1600. Nobody goes into a courtroom and intimidates Morgan & Morgan because they're going to get the fair compensation for you and your family. That's 800-512-1600. And do me a favor, when you call Morgan & Morgan, tell them Big Sil sent you.
After a car crash, the big insurance companies you see advertising on TV, they may try to downplay your case and might say it's only a fender bender or it's just a herniated disc. I worry that some law firms fall for this BS. Not us. We put ourselves in your shoes and ask, what would it be like to be in your pain for the rest of our lives? $1 million wouldn't be enough for me. There's only one Morgan & Morgan.